Take a moment and picture yourself being a superhero. Think about how you would look like. Think about what you would do. Think about what your archenemy would be like. Got some sort of picture there? And now think about what would be the thing that's driving you. What would be your principles? What would be your values that kind of determine the actions you do? And I think there's a couple different things you can come up with here. And is it maybe something like, I want to protect the innocent, yeah? Very superheroish. Is it something like, I want to beat up the bad guys, yeah? Be that one. Or are you more real-life setting, more students? Do you feel like I want to tackle the big issues like fight environmental problems or trying to do something against world hunger? Or is it something more straightforward and you just feel like, I think I'd just be pretty awesome and pretty fit and pretty fast and stuff like that? Today I want to tell you a story how I think you can do all of these things and even a little bit more. So I kind of vividly remember my geography teacher in like 8th grade, and he started telling us small kids like there's something called global warming. And we were sitting there with big eyes and we were watching An Inconvenient Truth and it was like, oh, what the hell? And I remember thinking like, this is quite scary, but at the same time this is kind of cool because it's like this massive, here's this massive cinematic threat trying to destroy all life on this planet. And can humanity get its shit together and like try and stay below these 2 degrees of rise in global temperature, which would otherwise have enormous catastrophes coming up. So I try to get more into like sustainability and try to think more about how do I like move around sustainably? What kind of transportation do I do? How do I produce a little bit of less of plastic waste? Trying to turn my lights off from, more as I could. And that went over the years until I stumbled upon the research of a couple of people, including, for example, Richard Oppenländer, who was saying, that's all nice and good, but it looks like if we continue this way, and even if we stop using any fossil fuels from this day on, we will still exceed those limits and have immense environmental catastrophes coming up. So I thought, that's a bit frustrating, isn't it? And the way this was explained had to do with this innocent-looking one here. Right. But there's a bit of a dark side to this one. Not emotionally, but the thing is, animal agriculture, the studies vary a bit, but even the UN admits that up to 30% of global greenhouse gas emissions can be contributed to livestock and animal agriculture. So where does this come from? Especially cows, for example, produce a huge amounts of methane, and methane is about 80 times as destructive as CO2 in our atmosphere. Then there's bigger issues like huge parts of deforestation are due to animal agriculture. As our population is growing, we still need more space to like grow crops for animals to feed them and just create space for them. And embedded in like, especially in the Amazon rainforest, are like massive amounts of CO2 that are going to be instantly released once you burn or cut down these precious natural places. So these are just a couple of reasons that are driving global warming, but there's more sides to it environmentally speaking. Not only is animal agriculture the driving force of deforestation, it's also the one for water pollution, the biggest one for habitat destruction, and species extinction in general. So that's big things. If you think about it, it kind of makes sense because you have to put a lot of food into one of those to get a bit of meat out of it. And you can kind of mathematically go to energy conversion rates. And when you put like, it depends on the animal obviously, but when you put like 1 calorie in, how much do I get out? For example, if for types of cattle, there's like, I have to put in 40 calories in to get like 1 calorie of meat out. So that's an energy conversion rate that's pretty bad. And this all kind of makes sense in the bigger picture when you realize that actually we at the moment are slaughtering each year 60 billion animals worldwide. That is about roughly up to 200 each day. That is the population of the UK in 8 hours. That is like all casualties of the Second World War, 6 years of Second World War, the biggest conflict we ever had in history in 8 hours. 8 hours, that's all there is. There's 60 million slaughters coming. And then you kind of realize how big this topic actually is and what we've created here. And it would be one thing, which kind of leads me to my second point, if we just say these are just 60 billion very bad energy conversion rate machines. But they're not, right? They're sentient, living, feeling, breathing beings. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen like any slaughterhouse footage or like the way livestock and especially in the Grand Seam is being kept. It is pretty depressing. And it kind of goes against our intuitions, how we feel about animals, which goes a bit further to why do we think that way? What is it that we never question the system that seems to be against our beliefs that we want to protect the environment, that we kind of feel attached to animals, that we want them to have a good life? And I think a lot of it psychologically has to do with a disconnect that we've kind of created. And this comes down to a lot to us still having this very children's book picture of like a farmer running around and having his couple of cattle and going there milking by hand and then picking up the eggs in the morning. But the reality looks way different these days. But we still see these kind of pictures that kind of give us the feeling that it's still that way. We still use a language that kind of hides it. We don't say it's animal flesh, we say it's meat, right? And there's a couple more things where you realize how distant we have become to this whole system we seem to be contributing to. And I know what you're thinking. This all sounds pretty bad, but what do you want to do, right? I mean, we have to consume animals. We need meat and we need milk. And unfortunately, that's also a construct that's kind of in our DNA at this point, but it really doesn't have to be. And biologically, it really isn't. Because there is quite some stuff to eat. And if you think about it, do you really think it is necessary to eat something that you have to chop up with a knife and like fry it for a while till it becomes tender enough for you to even chew on it? Do you really think there's nothing strange about us being the only species that like goes to another animal and drinks their milk, which is like made for a calf? All the hormones, all the nutrients kind of just being made for this, and we kind of drink it. Shouldn't we be drinking maybe chimpanzee milk, right? That's at least genetically a bit closer to us. Or an egg, a simple egg. That's the period of a hen. If you think about it, and the next time you do your scrambled eggs, hope I didn't ruin it for you there. But that's the stuff we're talking about. And there's plenty of options. And also stuff that we try and like every day. Bit of beer, the best burger 2015 actually without any animal products, not real beef. So the more I digged into this issue, the more I realized how generally unstable this system and unsustainable it appears to be. And how we're having these contradictions, how we feel like we call ourselves environmentalists, turning our lights off and trying to be sustainable in that way, while still eating our meat that has like way bigger footprint, that can change way more. We call ourselves healthy and trying to eat like lean meat and stuff, while there's so much more options where we could dig deeper. And speaking of that point, research is coming up more and more showing how we've created a very unsustainable health issue in our generation as well. Biggest 3 killers in the Western world: heart disease, stroke, and cancer. Heart disease and stroke in a nutshell: saturated fats and cholesterol, like plaque in your arteries, blocking it up, no bloodstream, consequences clear. What's the only thing that got cholesterol? Animal products. What is the only thing showing to not only prevent but even reverse those 3 main killers? It's actually fully going on a plant-based diet. And there's more contradictions that we feel like. We call ourselves feminists, but we drink the milk of another female that was forcibly impregnated. Some people might well call that rape, while thinking that we do something to protect them. We call ourselves manly and protective and strong, while we eat the flesh of an animal that had never a chance to even fight against us. That was like so cringed together in a tiny cage that it never even had the strength to stand up. Is that really something that we feel like manly about? But encouragingly enough, there is a movement that really feels like it is so simple and so easy to find a way out of these fallacies and contradictions. And it's one that incorporates a diversity of people, I'd say, coming from all spectrums, coming always slightly different reasons, but that all agree on that you can change so much by eliminating animal products from your diet. You might be someone holding 3 world records as a strongman. You might be someone being a social moderator and super famous, openly homosexual person of interest. You might be a young artist, I guess, who runs around in fake leather boots on the stage. Or you might even be an ex-American president who says that we can have so much more by going this way. And whatever the reasons you are, you come to this conclusion, whether you think I can fight so many environmental issues with this, whether we think that there's a social issue connected with it, we have an unsustainable healthcare system, because at the moment it seems that we don't really live longer, we just die longer, because as our life expectancy goes up, so lowers the rate at the age we become chronically diseased by a lot of different diseases. Or you think there's just 60 billion innocent beings that should not be in this process and that I can help to save one every single day. Or you just feel like your whole body and everything in you makes you feel so much better when the second you kind of drop all of these products. And I can tell you myself, it is the single best choice I've made in my life. I get up every morning with less sleep, I feel more powerful, my physical performance is better, I recover faster, my skin's gotten better, I just overall feel so much better. And most importantly to me, I can wake up every morning and say, I'm living the values that I've established for myself and behave in a way that's in line with what I believe in. And this is what makes me feel like a little superhero every day. And so can you feel. Thank you very much.